honestly more important than anything. We got wins, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what 23-7, 22-7. Like on paper, we weren't supposed to do that, and the fact that we did is like that's why I tweeted, man. Anthony Guy Bennett, you sly dog! Like he just delivers.
On today's episode of Titus and Tate, we will be talking to the 2019 Most Outstanding Player of the NCAA Tournament and the reigning, the reigning Most Outstanding Player will be for a full year. Kyle Guy joined us from his apartment in Sacramento. Tate, it was fun chatting with Kyle.
It's good to have him here, and you have your Virginia hat on, so it's full on Virginia Day.
Yep, I pandered to him because he panders to me. You know, every time we talk to Kyle, he always finds a way to mention that he watched me and Greg and Mike and Daquan Cook and all those guys, all our AAU team. He always he's an Indiana guy, so he always makes sure to mention that he watched us growing up, and I really appreciate that because he does not need to do that. But we're gonna talk to Kyle. We talked to him about being quarantined with his wife. He's a newlywed. The poor guy got married, Tate, and as soon as he got married, the circumstances said, "Go spend every waking second with each other." Until...
yeah.
Oh, you want to live together? Here you go. Spend every second together and never leave the house. Congratulations.
Yes.
Enjoy your marriage. So we talked to him about that a little bit, and obviously a lot of Virginia basketball, some Tony Bennett stories, and all that kind of stuff. Great catching up with him. We're also going to talk to the AP released their All-American list today, and there are some notes that we need to go over. Obi Toppin unanimously named an All-American. The only one who is unanimous. Interesting. Really makes you think. And we're going to see wherever else this thing goes. It is day 12 of our quarantine, and we are in the same boat as all of you listening. And we're ready to get weird per usual. So that's what we're going to do.
So last week, or last show, you gave, I think we have 8 teams that are national champions right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's an update. The list has been cut, folks, and here's where the list is right now. We have 3 national champions and 1 officially voted in by the Senate national champion. So I'll break it down. So number 1, the Kansas Jayhawks are the national champions according to the AP and KenPom. So those are 2 very, very strong alliances to have in the world of determining a national champion. So Kansas has those 2. We have in the net ranking, Gonzaga. Gonzaga is the number 1 in the net ranking. So based on net, Gonzaga, the national champions. Sportsline, whatever the hell that is, they decided to do a simulation of the tournament. In their simulation, Dayton was deemed to be the winner of the NCAA tournament, the national champion. So those are your 3 national champions based on those 4 tests, I guess you would say. Kansas has 2 of them, Dayton, Gonzaga. But the Senate in Florida, and I got to pull up this story because it's so good, and we can't let this slide. Florida Senate legislation declares Florida State the 2020 men's basketball national champion by a vote of 37-2. And for people that don't get this.
Hold on. Who were the 2 people in the Florida Senate that voted against Florida? They had to be Florida fans, right? Like they had to be what it was.
Absolutely. Yeah. They had to be Florida fans or Miami fans or whatever kind of fans are in the Florida Senate. But 37 people were Tallahassee Seminoles, and the Tallahassee heads came out, and they are basically presenting Coach Leonard Hamilton and the university president, John Thrasher, a token of the sentiments of the Florida Senate saying they're national champions. So they're going to get an official piece of paper that says they are the 2020 national champions. They are the first state to declare a national champion. In a world where the states are declaring all types of things in today's times, Florida comes out and says, don't worry about, any of this other stuff going on. Florida State, the national champions. So right now, as I stand in the theoretical national championship vote, Florida State's the only team that has actual paperwork behind it, other than media members and KenPom. So I think the way I leave this right now, Florida State is the national champion. So congratulations to Coach Hamilton.
That is on brand for Florida. They did the same with UCF, right? I don't know if it was the Senate that did it, but obviously UCF said we're the national champion football team. What if this is how you get Trump to fill out a bracket? Like obviously Andy Katz used to fill out the bracket with Obama, and then when Trump became the president, Andy Katz, I guess the story goes like he reached out to Trump to do the bracket, and Trump said, "Nah, I have no interest in that." What if Trump's like suddenly like, actually, I do have interest now that the tournament wasn't actually played, and he tries to pretend like whatever he says goes, and that's like the official mandate. And he sits down with Andy Katz. They do a 2-hour special, and Trump goes through and picks the games, and whatever he decides is ultimately what happens, and that's what we all have to just get behind and say that's the winner of the tournament.
All I know is this: he will do that. He will do that 2-hour session in the middle of the 2009 national title game or the 2017 national title, whatever Carolina's playing on CBS. That's when that'll happen. They'll be like, "All right, let's do it then. We got it." So there you go. There's your update. Florida State national champions.
I don't think it's a coincidence that the tournament was canceled in an election year, by the way. I think we can still get this on the ballot. I think this is where it's ultimately leading to, is that in November we're all going to have to vote. You're going to vote for president. You're going to vote for all the other stuff that's not as important as who won the national championship. That's really should be the top of the ballot. Is like, who do you think would have won the national championship? You list basically every Division I school. I guess you could go through and weed out the ones that have already lost in their conference tournaments. But the ones that hadn't lost in the conference tournaments have to still be eligible, and just have a long list. And then the election is vote for who you think should have won. And then we roll it that way. That's what I say should happen.
And let me just say, Florida State will win that.
Florida
State will win again. They will go out and vote.
Did you see that the AP listed the All-American teams? They released the AP All-Americans, which kind of the only All-American teams that matter. You know, it's weird because I think that and you can stop me if you disagree, but the AP All-Americans are the ones that carry the most weight. They're the ones that people throw around as like, you know, the most valid. No one cares about the sports line All-Americans or the Titus and Tate All-American team. They care about what the AP has to say. But then the flip side of that is the AP names their national player every year, and I feel like that's third best behind Wooden and Naismith, right? So it doesn't carry quite the same cachet, but nonetheless, the AP released the All-Americans, and what's interesting to me, what jumps out immediately, Tate, is that Obi Toppin was unanimous pick. Luka Garza was not. So there were people that, for first team I'm talking, there were people that voted on this that did not have Luka Garza on their first team. Your thoughts?
Well, I think it says something more about the Kansas team, right? Because Udoka Azubuike and Devin Dotson are both on the second team, and they basically were stealing votes away from each other. They're like 20 votes or whatever it was. So I think Doak could have obviously made a candidacy to be on the first team. I think a lot of people thought that he had a real shot to be, obviously ends his career with the highest field goal percentage in college basketball history. You know, crazy numbers at the end of the year, has the big 31-point game, you know, the 19 rebound game, all that sort of stuff. So I feel like a lot of people were like, well, I would take Doak over Garza. He's on the best team in the country. He's going to be our 5 there. So I think that takes votes away from Garza. On the other side of that, Toppin, I mean, I don't think there really was a competition at his position, really.
Yeah.
I mean, not that it is positional, but like I feel like he was a guarantee that he would be in. Everyone knows the 6'9" forward from Dayton, Obi Toppin. He's the one that ended up being the talking point for everyone. So in a world where I think unanimous is irrelevant, we're living in the Steph Curry unanimous MVP world where everyone wants to be unanimous. So I understand the infatuation with saying Obi's unanimous and Luka's not, you know.
What it would, so tomorrow, and by tomorrow I mean today for people listening. We're recording this on Monday, but it comes out on Tuesday. At noon Eastern, the AP will be announcing their Player of the Year, Tate, and I think this points to Obi Toppin's going to win that, right? It has to. I mean, that's the only thing that would make sense, is that the one guy who's unanimous on the All-American team is going to win that, which is interesting because Luka Garza is actually being named National Player of the Year by more outlets than I thought. The campaign is working. The Iowa fans that are all over the internet, it's always Iowa fans. You can always say, if you're on Twitter, which again, thank God I'm not anymore, but like whenever I talk about Obi Toppin and someone would reply and be like, Garza's better. At no point was it ever like a San Diego State fan chipping in, or like a Gonzaga fan that's like, I'm watching all these games too. Here's how I see it. Literally every single time it's an Iowa fan. And I guess maybe not literally. The one exceptions will be fans of other Big Ten schools. It's only the only every so often, one on every 30 times you'll get a fan at like a Michigan fan or an Illinois fan. It's like
Wisconsin fan.
Yeah. But Garza, so I thought all of that was just kind of noise, but a lot of these awards are going to Garza. It's becoming like an actual debate. Like it was sort of like a thing we just kind of, I mean, we did the big rant after I got back from Dayton, and I was like, Toppin's winning all the awards. Like it's a no brainer. And then Iowa fans got upset. Apparently it's working. And now Garza is being named National Player of the Year, but it looks like Toppin's going to be the National Player of the Year for the AP. And I think we might get a split. We might get like a split decision ultimately. I think that might be where we're headed, which hasn't happened. I don't remember the last time this happened. Was it 06? I mean, even in 06 when Reddick and Morrison, like people still remember Reddick as being the guy because I think Reddick won the ones that mattered most. I feel like 03 was the last time it was like truly split. It was David West and TJ Ford, where if you ask people who was the National Player of the Year that year, they still kind of argue about it. I think that might be where we're headed, Tate.
I think we have a chance just based on the odds, right? So I think they were like both 5-4 odds to actually win National Player of the Year between Garza and Toppin. So if Vegas believes that's the case, and look, I'll just say this as someone who witnessed Tyler Hansbrough, as someone who has seen the love that Eric Montross gets in the world of college basketball, there's nothing like a white big, you know, like people just automatically endear themselves to a big white man, you know, wearing number 55 in the center because it's a position that you're familiar with, especially in a world where, you know, we are more, you know, shooter, guard oriented, skill oriented, whatever you want to say. But Garza has those skills also. So I think that, you know, it makes people, you know, have like some sort of affinity for him. But if you watch both these guys play, I know there's the competition that can be discussed with the Big Ten and, you know, the A-10 and all that sort of stuff. But I think Obi Toppin was by and large the best player. I think Garza could be in a mix of guys, and Toppin was the only guy, in my opinion, that really like stood out above the rest of the guys.
Listen, if you're taking Garza over Toppin, you're telling on yourself that you're. I mean, this is a good litmus test for you know, how people view the game of basketball because I don't mean to put down Iowa fans. If you're an Iowa fan, you 100% have to stand behind your guy. There's no beef with Iowa fans whatsoever.
It's a great campaign. Yeah, it's a great campaign. Yeah.
You have to 100% back your guy. It doesn't matter. Even if in the back of your brain, you're like, I actually kind of like Toppin more. It doesn't matter. You have to back your guy. That's part of being a fan. It's the other people that think that Garza gets it over Toppin. I feel like you're kind of telling on yourself, Tate, because I mean, Toppin, literally the only argument for Garza is that he averages more points and rebounds against a harder schedule, which is like the dumbest way of thinking because Toppin, it's not like Dayton is losing these games. This is what I don't understand why people keep bringing up like the whole schedule thing. It would be one thing if Dayton played the bad schedule they played, which it wasn't even their fault. It's the A-10 wasn't as good as it usually is. But even if they play that schedule, and let's say they lose to Rhode Island by 12, they lose to St. Louis on a last-second shot, and then you throw in like one other 5-point loss to God knows who, then I'll entertain your idea of like, yeah, okay, so Toppin he put up numbers, but they kind of lost to these. They killed everybody they played basically. They didn't lose. So the schedule argument, I don't really care that much. But even if you want to throw that in, I mean, Toppin he's more efficient. Garza averages more points and rebounds because if you look at the pace that both teams play at, I mean, Dayton is slowing it down. Iowa's up and down because they played no defense. They let the other team score so then they can go score on the other end. Toppin hasn't beaten talent by a wide margin. Toppin could theoretically maybe be the number one pick in the draft. He's good enough to go number one. Garza is going to come back next year probably because he's not good enough to get drafted. So if you're just talking like sheer raw talent, Toppin's a better player. His team is better. That's kind of undeniable. He plays defense. He's more exciting. He's unquestionably more exciting. He's more nationally relevant. I really don't understand how this became like a thing outside of Iowa fans. And kudos to them. I tip my cap to them because if it wasn't for them, this would not be a debate at all. But for some reason, people have turned it into a debate. And I think it's going to be a split decision. I think Toppin's going to win the AP Player of the Year. And I think one of the Wooden or Naismith, or if not both, is going to go to Garza. I really feel like that's where we're headed, which is crazy because to me, Garza's candidacy, he's lost 11 games. He played on a middling Iowa team. Garza is basically like the Trae Young, this debate is like Trae Young, Jalen Brunson, where Trae Young put up absurd numbers and he did it in the best conference in college basketball that year. The Big 12, basically like every team in that conference in 2018 was a tournament team more or less. He put up insane numbers, but he also lost a ton. And it was like, well, this is kind of empty calories. That was kind of the thought behind why Trae Young wouldn't win. And Jalen Brunson was obviously the best player on the best team, and that's why Jalen Brunson ended up winning out. It feels like that, except Trae Young was also a lottery pick, a top 5 pick. That was great. Luka Garza doesn't even have that. It feels like the same sort of debate as that, except Luka Garza isn't even as talented as Trae Young. So I don't know if Luka Garza wins National Player of the Year awards, and Trae Young did not, Tate, that'll be very disappointing. We'll just put it that way. That's all I have to say about that. But
No, I was going to say, you can lock that in. I would agree with that. And also, I mean, Trae Young, this is the time where we're not doing this because I don't know why not, but I don't like we're in the world where everyone's doing like best tournament runs or doing brackets and they're like best players of college basketball. One of the graphics I saw that Trae Young retweeted was best college basketball season since 2007. And the list is like, you know, Blake Griffin's on there, Buddy Hield's on there, Jimmer's on there, Steph's on there. You know what I mean? Kevin Durant's on there, but Trae Young's not on there. And he like quote tweeted in, like, you know, what is this basically? And it is funny to see how quickly Trae Young went from this novelty of like, is this guy really averaging 30 and 10 in college basketball? To everyone's like, well, they were an 8 or a 9 seed, so I really, you know, I dismissed that entire year, and he's not a winner, so I don't care. But like you said, I mean, if that's the mentality and those are the rules you're working under, then it's the same sort of deal with Garza. Even though, it's funny how that works.
I don't understand, because if you're an old school guy, the vote is for Toppin because he's the better he's the best player on the quote unquote best team, even though Kansas is the best team, but Dayton is, you know, good enough to be considered up there as the best team. So he gets the bump over Garza for that, if that's your old school way of thinking. If you're a new school guy who's into the nerd, if you're a nerd analytics guy, you look at the efficiency of Toppin and he gets the nod. Like I don't understand, like where and you look at the defense. If you're one of those guys that just likes to really crunch the numbers, you're looking at Toppin's efficiency. Toppin plays defense. All that kind of stuff should matter. And it doesn't, and to people that want Garza. So I don't understand who is backing Garza other than Iowa fans. But again, I can't stress this enough. Iowa fans, I'm not saying you're stupid. I'm not saying you're wrong. You 100% have to get behind your guy. I'm just saying, as someone who's not an Iowa fan, I don't really feel like this should be particularly close. And that's not because Luka Garza is not good. He's very, very good. He should have been a unanimous All-American, I think, on the first team. But it's not even close to me. Obi Toppin is 100% the player of the year. So that's it.
It's also one of those things where if we had a most improved player, you know, like nationally, maybe Luka Garza is that guy, because Luka Garza goes from, you know, 13 points a game to 23 points per game, and he gets his rebounds up. And I agree he needs the acknowledgement, but I am pretty flabbergasted that we're at the point where, like you said, we're at even odds between Obi Toppin and Luka Garza.
That's crazy.
But that's the world we live in.
All right, enough about that. Let's talk to Kyle Guy. Let's get him on the show. He has a lot to talk about. We have a lot to talk to him about. Here it is, our interview with the 2019 Most Outstanding Player, Kyle Guy. All right, joining us now from his place in Sacramento, California, also quarantined just like the rest of the country. It is your 2019 Most Outstanding Player. Kind of your 2020 Most Outstanding Player as well. The longest reign for the most outstanding player in the history of the NCAA tournament. It is Kyle Guy. Kyle, I want to start here. You got married last summer, and within a year of being married, you're now quarantined and you have to spend every second with your wife. How is that going? Is the relationship, is this strengthening the relationship? Is it causing problems? What's going on there?
Well, both, and I think then they both kind of go hand in hand. No, it's definitely a change. We've actually never lived together before this, because we always went to different schools. And so she moved out here in December. And yeah, it's been challenging, but it's been fun. We both like board games and card games and stuff, so that's been nice. But she doesn't really like movies like I do. She's more of a TV show girl,
Oh, okay.
and I'm like a movie freak, so we butt heads over that a little bit.
What kind of TV shows does she watch? Is she into the trash stuff or the?
She's into both.
Like
she likes,
okay,
like she loves Game of Thrones, but then she likes like, Love Is Blind.
Yeah,
just
any TV. All right.
Yeah.
Popular TV shows. We like that. You mentioned, Kyle, that you like movies. This is something like Titus mentioned to me earlier. He was like, I got a list of Kyle Guy's top 10 movies. I'm like, one, how did you get this list? And two, is this man the biggest Christopher Nolan fan of all time? And then we're gonna work that out today. So can you just let the people know what your number one movie is? Oh, you tweeted it. Okay.
Yeah, I tweeted like a list of like my favorite movies in a bunch of genres. And it wasn't like these aren't like I didn't rank them from what I think is the best movie. I just went off of what my favorite is. And I didn't even realize when I did the list that the first three were all Christopher Nolan. And of course, I saw Mark's tweet, and I'm like, oh my God, Christopher Nolan. He's the man, though. He's the man. So I'm not mad.
There's nothing wrong with that. Your list was we had Interstellar at number 1, Inception at 2, and The Dark Knight at 3, and that's what stood out to me. Jojo Rabbit was 4, which I'm with you on all these picks. These are all great movies. 5 was Forrest Gump, and here's where you lose me, Kyle, because everything's subjective. Your top 5, they're all really good. I think a lot of people would have all 5 of those somewhere in their top whatever. But number 6 was Warrior. What is Warrior? I don't even know what Warrior is. Explain to the people what the movie Warrior is and why it's in your top 10. I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, so Warrior went really under the radar. I remember going to see it with my stepdad. We paid to go see, I don't know, some movie, whatever. And we stayed and went to another theater and we watched Warrior. And that movie was it was off the chart. And this is the same stepdad that took me to Fort Wayne to watch you and Greg and Mike and Daquan Cook and all them. So we did basketball and we went movies together. And so this movie Warrior has Joel Edgerton in it. It has Tom Hardy in it. And it's phenomenal. It's about these two brothers that one used to be a UFC fighter, one was a Marine. And then he goes AWOL, and then they end up like fighting each other in this tournament. Like it's unbelievable.
and yet again, Tom Hardy is a Chris Nolan actor, so it's basically a de facto Chris Nolan movie. We'll just throw that in there. That's
it comes full
circle. Yeah, I agree.
So you said you snuck into movies. You would go to one movie and then sneak out of that one after it was over, and go into another one. Am I understanding that correctly?
Much.
What have you been up to? You've been killing it in the G League. We were supposed to come to one of your games, and you gave us like a 12-hour notice. And you're unfamiliar with Southern California traffic, and you were like, "Hey, we're playing 4 hours away in Ontario. You guys should come swing by to a game." But I really wanted to come. You're lining it up in the G League. You got it into the NBA. Give the people. You got your NBA debut out of the way, is what I was going to say. What'd you play? Like 2 minutes? Was it?
Yeah. Like 2 minutes, 10 seconds, maybe. Yeah.
Nice. I like it.
Love that.
So give the people an update on what you're up to. How is G League life treating you? How was the transition from Tony Bennett ball to like real basketball, as people would say? What is all of that?
Yeah, it's definitely been it's been a roller coaster. So since I'm on this 2-way contract, like there's a lot of gray areas. It's a lot of extra travel because I'm playing with the G League for a week road trip, and then they call me so I was in Rio Grande Valley, which is like 10 minutes from Mexico, like the border, like 10 minutes. And I get a call at 3 a.m. saying, "Hey, you're on the 6 a.m. flight, meet us in DC." So I leave the G League and go to the NBA for another road trip. I was gone for like 18 days. Like it's a lot of travel, but I got a foot in the door. I'm in a solid organization. Like we're fighting for the playoffs. Like we got a young core. The front office and the coaches really like me. And in the G League, I get an opportunity to show I'm not just a shooter. I'm a scorer. I can facilitate, which I've been taking a lot of pride in, and that I can defend. Like I'm not a liability on defense. So that's what I've been trying to do in the G League. And we played the Bucks. They were beating us pretty good, and that's when I got my NBA debut, and I was guarding Kyle Korver the whole time, which was kind of cool. And then I played in 3 NBA games and scored in 1. So
you're 7th in the G League in scoring, right? And over like the last 10 games, you were averaging like 32 points per game. I just want to let people know this, you know what I mean? Because I feel like the G League stats get lost in the shuffle. Like I'm a big Dwayne Bacon fan, so all I do is look at Dwayne Bacon, G League stats, and they're just like, he had 48 points last night. I'm like, this is amazing. Can we talk about this? So I wanted to point that out. You're top 10 scoring in the G League, and you're getting pulled up. it's different.
Yeah.
Does any part of you, Kyle, knowing how much you're lighting it up now, want to go back to Coach Bennett and be like, listen, the pace, the slowing it down worked for us. Obviously, we won a national title, but my God, like every so often, like I could have averaged 25 if you just would have let me loose. If you just would have turned us loose.
Here's what's crazy, man. When he recruited me, he said, like, look, like I don't know if we don't really have quite the personnel for like running up and down right now. Like London's a slower paced point guard. That's just how he plays, and that's fine. And he told me, and he said, look, when I was a freshman, he actually gave me the green light, which he doesn't give the green light to many people in general. But like he's like, if you're open, like you can shoot it whenever you want. And then sophomore, junior year, just like the leash got longer and longer for me, Ty and Dre, and the rest of the guys. He never once, like I think there's a misconception, like people think like we want to play slow. There's never one time he was like, hey, slow it down, let's do this. We just did whatever we wanted, especially the championship year. It was like whoever had the ball, Ty, Dre, me, like it didn't matter. Do whatever you want. Like that's how much freedom he gives us. It just so happens when you play 30 seconds of defense, you get a little tired. You need to,
right, yeah,
run a play, whatever. And I mean, like my freshman year, I think we averaged like 68 points as a team. But then my junior year, we're averaging, 72, 73. So, look, he's all about he's actually one of the better quick hitter coaches I've ever played for. Like he does a lot of quick hit plays, and that's kind of where I usually got going during the game was just a little quick hitter you call, and then I'd run it, score, and then we'd be good. So
you mentioned having the green light when you got to Virginia. What was the hierarchy on that team, by the way? Go ahead, Tate.
No, I was going to say, was it the man bun? Because it feels like if you come in as a freshman, you have a man bun. If you're Tony Bennett, you're just like, I don't know what this kid's about, but I know he's confident, so he might as well shoot the ball.
Yeah, I remember him pulling me in the office once, and we were just like looking over a little bit of film. And he's just like I just want to. I was going through a little slump in like the beginning of the season. He's like, hey, like everything okay? Blah blah. He's like, I never say anything about like your man bun. You're wearing short sleeves and a shooting sleeve, and you got tights on. Like I don't say anything about it because you're a confident player. So like, where's he at right now? Like type thing. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know. The hierarchy is Tony runs the show, man, and we all believe in him, and that's what's so cool. Is like, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if you guys ever met him, ever talked to him. Like the genuinity and the transparency that he brings is like he makes you feel bad about yourself. Like, where are my morals at? Because he's doing it right. Just like makes you think about everything. And yeah.
No, the best example of that was when you guys lost to UMBC, the press conference. I don't know what he told you. Maybe he did actually yell at you, but when he shared what he told you guys and just how classy, and like anyone else in that situation would have been not handle it that way. And just the way he faced the music, and I don't know, it made everyone want to root for you guys, and I think it made it that much more sweet when you guys won the next year. Speaking of which, so the tournament was canceled this year. Would you, as someone who, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this, what would be worse to you? Because you were a junior, you left early, you could have come back this year for your senior year at Virginia. You had 1 year of eligibility left. What would have hurt worse, coming back for your senior year and then having the tournament canceled as a senior, or losing to a 16 seed again?
Man.
What do you think would have been worse?
Honestly, canceled. Because like we already lost to a 16 seed. Like it won't hurt as much the second time. Like it'll suck, but it won't be quite as bad. But no, being canceled, man. I think I tweeted like right away. I was like, man, I just feel so bad. Like it was more than likely it was the right thing to do. With everything going on, how like quickly everything's spreading, but you just like, and they're looking like it's looking like they're not going to give anybody an extra year of eligibility, but like players like Sabrina, Cassius, like Mamadi, like that's just, man, I don't know. I know I would not be happy. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, for sure. Was there anybody that's your age, like a Miles Powell? Is there anyone that you reached out to that, or like a Cassius Winston, anyone that you had, or like a Peyton Pritchard, any of the seniors that you were just like, hey man, I hate to see that, but also I'm still the MOP.
Yeah. First off, people keep saying like it's the longest reign of a championship ever, which isn't true because teams have won back to back, correct?
Yeah, but it's
Florida
a
win
new
back?
team. It's a new
That's-
team,
I mean-
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Your
That's
one
true.
team
That's
is going to
true.
be 2-year title champions. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you that. That's true.
You got to like that.
But,
Like, admit it. Some small part of you likes that, Kyle. Admit it. Like, when you're going to be the answer to a trivia question for the rest of your life. Like, you'll be who's the only guy that for 2 years was the most outstanding player. It was Kyle Guy.
Yeah,
like that's.
I mean, like a very small percent. Because part of me feels like we didn't earn. And then like the Tony Bennett side of me is like we didn't earn it, so I don't want it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But I mean, yeah, like I reached out to the UVA guys, and I like everyone knows everyone just from playing college basketball, AAU, whatever. Like I know Cassius, Miles, even Sabrina. We sat next to each other at the McDonald's All-American like banquet, and we listened to like Jay Williams give like a gut-wrenching, inspirational speech. So like, just my heart feels for him, but everything happens for a reason, and all those people I just named are on to bigger and better things. So
yeah,
that's for sure.
For sure. I had this question about it's something that Tate and I have talked about it before. So I guess it never really dawned on me when you guys the year before when you guys ended up losing to UMBC, you guys won the ACC tournament going into that tournament, and then the year you won the title, you were smacked by Florida State in the ACC tournament. This is a random question, terrible segue, but it just came to mind. What do you think there's any value in losing? Like, how do you assess winning the conference tournament and then having to play in the NCAA tournament? Because Tate and I discussed like how teams sometimes it feels like teams purposely lose because it sets you up for bigger and better things for the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, Carolina.
That
Carolina does it all the time.
Yeah. That kind of
yeah.
feels like you guys are proof positive of that like when you win the ACC tournament, you lose to the 16th seed, and then when you got smoked, you ended up winning the national tournament. NCAA tournament.
Well, I can promise you that we did not lose on purpose because
okay.
I mean, add another ring to the collection or lose on purpose. Like always add another. But I mean, I'm definitely, if not that, I'm still proof positive that losing is a good thing. Like I sincerely believe that if we don't lose to UMBC, let alone we don't lose to them, I think we're probably in the Final Four. I'm not gonna say we're gonna win it all, but we're probably in the Final Four because we had a pretty solid bracket. But I'm also a believer if we don't lose that, we don't win the national championship.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just a different feel between the NCAA tournament and the conference tournaments. Like conference tournaments, if you were in our position, like you're making the tournament, and when you're the run we had, man, we just were talking to each other, and there's this feeling inside all of us, and just in the air, like we're not going home. Like this is all we're leaving it all on the floor.
All right, so like obviously we've already spent a lot of time. I didn't mean to rehash like losing to UMBC and all of that as much, and then the whole story, that 2-year arc that you had. But obviously that is kind of what your identity is at this point as a basketball player. Like if you said the name Kyle Guy to people that follow basketball but aren't necessarily super plugged in, they're like, that's the guy from Virginia that was on the team that lost and then they won, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, how do you, now that you've moved on and now you're a professional basketball player, how difficult is it going to be, or do you feel like it is to kind of like create a new identity? Because like you don't want to be the guy who's trying to make it in the league and all anyone knows you as is what you did when you were 21, has that been challenging to you? How do you like celebrate that part of your life, but at the same time be like, listen, that was then, I got bigger and better goals I'm moving on towards?
Well, I think the championships helped a lot. Like if you guys saw my DMs after we lost to UMBC, like it was nonstop for 365 days. Them just like going at me, and they still kind of go at us, but like I just send a picture of my ring. Like what? Like I don't have anything to say to them anymore. You know what I mean? So I mean that definitely helps. Like I don't dwell on it too much, and yeah, like it's baggage that just comes with my name from now on, or Virginia. But at the same time, like Coach Bennett did a great job of making sure that we didn't let it define us. We just
No, I
kind of
don't
let
even
it be
mean
part of the story.
I don't even mean the bad part. I mean the good part as well. That like you get your redemption. You're now a champion. You're the most outstanding player.
Hmm.
So how do you not like if it was me, if I was in your shoes, I would just sigh a big sigh of relief and be like, I did it. I accomplished everything there is to accomplish in basketball. And then the
Right.
Sacramento Kings would be like, Kyle, we want you to play for us. To be like, oh shit, I gotta keep playing. Oh no.
Right. Okay.
So how do you now
I,
like then be motivated to like figure out what's next and kind of take the next step of as you begin your professional career is what I mean.
yeah, I don't know. I just think I'm kind of like I'm like a fiend for like competition.
Mm-hmm.
So, and basketball just happens to be like something that I'm super passionate about and that I've, been in love with for a while. So, um, I don't know. I think when I was younger, it was like, okay, I want to be the greatest. But now where I'm at now, like, I don't want to be the greatest player ever. That's just not my personality. Like, I'm not LeBron James and I'm not Michael Jordan or Kobe. Like, that's just not something I'm going to be. But if I can make a good living for myself playing a game that I love instead of working at a desk,
Mm-hmm.
like I'll do that any day of the week. So at the end of the day, like I'm just trying to provide for my family and um, play basketball and as long as I, feel the need to. And at the end of the day, like basketball is kind of like a vehicle to do other things for me. Um, so yeah.
That's so refreshing, man, because I feel like everybody expects their athletes to just have that maniacal, approach to the game. And it's so
Mhm.
hypocritical because you'll have people who are, like you said, like work desk jobs that are like, they're accountants that don't really care about their job. They're just punching the clock and it's whatever. But then they'll turn on the TV and watch basketball and they get mad that like Shaq's the best example. I feel like Shaq had the same attitude where he's like, he's probably the greatest player ever who like had the same attitude of
Right.
like, whatever, man. Like I'm just here to play some
Whatever.
ball and
Yeah.
make some money and like,
I'm just good.
like I'm trying to win, but I'm not like. And then because that's why Kobe and Shaq hated each other, I guess, is because Kobe was like had that drive to just want to kill everybody, and Shaq's like, that's pretty crazy, man. I'm just trying to play some ball and make some money and
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know, that's refreshing. I like hearing that. So yeah. How much do you keep up with Indiana high school basketball? Lawrence Central's pretty good
Enough.
this year. They were before the tournament got
Yeah,
canceled.
I was super disappointed. 0-3 against Lawrence North is never anything that, is not something to be excited about. I was pretty down in the dumps for that, but especially because when I was there, we pretty much ran through Atlanta a lot, especially in football. Jeez. But I mean, they canceled. I mean, everything's getting canceled. So.
Well, my question was, I guess what I was leading to was, as an Indiana Mr. Basketball, do you feel a pressure, a responsibility to part of why I fell in love with Virginia, part of why I'm wearing my Virginia hat, part of why I love your story so much was that you're an Indiana guy. Tate knows this. If anybody, Tate's the same way with the North Carolina guys. If a guy played in North Carolina, anytime we start doing a show and Tate gets really excited about some small school kid, and I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And then I'll look him up, and he's like from Hickory, North Carolina or something. I'm like, there it is. I knew there was something.
Yeah, Kai Bowman. Yeah,
there you go.
Love that.
I'm the same.
Play.
I'm the same way with guys from Indiana, and I as an Indiana Mr. Basketball, do you feel that sort of like kinship that like a guy like Desmond Bain on TCU, for example, he torched Baylor this year, and I got so excited watching it. I was like, that's an Indiana kid. He's from Richmond. He's killing. Do you feel? Are you carrying the Indiana label, Kyle? Like I hope you are. Is my question.
Bro, I feel you 100%. Like every time, like, okay, so here's an example. Whenever, actually, I can't say that. I'll text you later. But anyways, I'm always like everyone. I follow everyone you could possibly think of, Indiana basketball wise. Like we all try to work out together sometimes or do open gym. When we were all back home in the summer, which obviously is going to be a little jacked up this summer, but like I was playing Call of Duty with Joey Brunk just like 2 days ago.
Nice.
So like,
Nice.
and Desmond Baines like asking me if like my agent's kind of recruiting him. He's like, hey, what do you think? Like this would be a good fit. So like we just all kind of know each other and definitely trying to carry the label. There's definitely that kinship that you're talking about.
Cool.
Well, yeah, we appreciate that.
All he's
to
worried
hear
about,
that
all he's worried about right now is what I was gonna say.
I know. We'll talk later.
Yeah.
This is the full Indiana bias. Can I ask Kyle? This is we buried the lead on this, but you put out to the world not too long ago that Twitter has decided to take away your blue check, and we just wanted to put it out there. We want to start a campaign to get it back because again, you are the most outstanding player back to back, the only man to do that. We don't know anyone else on Twitter that can prove that point. But first, we want to get your thoughts on that, and then we want to figure out how to get it back. And it might just happen when you tell that story about that Indiana player you were just let us know about. Maybe that'll help. Maybe they'll know you're a genuine guy at that point. They're like, yeah, we'll put it up.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I asked my agency if they could fix it. They said they talked to Twitter and they were waiting to get back. So I don't know, man. It's not really that big of a deal. I thought it was funny, and
it is funny.
That's why I tweeted it. But I don't even remember getting it. But then for some reason, I definitely remember not having it anymore.
I think Twitter is just run by a bunch of Duke fans. That's probably what it is.
Yes.
I think all the guys at Twitter are just Duke people, and that's really it.
I mean, it makes sense. If the shoe fits, you know.
What did you think about this Virginia? How much did you watch this Virginia team? I saw you seem to tweet a lot when you're watching games. How much did you watch? As much as it seemed? Like, what were your thoughts on this team? The progression throughout the year. Obviously, they like get smacked at Purdue. They kind of aren't playing particularly well in the middle of the year, and then they start winning. Like basically every game is a one possession game. What was that experience like being on the other end? Because in the NCAA tournament, you guys obviously had an incredible run where every game was close. It seemed to come down to the last shot. But now you're watching as a fan, and you're watching. It wasn't the same stakes, obviously, but what was it like? 7 of their 8 wins in a row were within one possession or something.
Yeah.
What was that like for you to have to sit here and have no control over anything?
I tell you what, I get more nervous as a fan than I do as a player. like legit, especially when we beat up on those Tar Heels and Chapel Hill. That was pretty fun. I got to watch a lot. I got to watch a lot, luckily. But even when I didn't get to watch, I was always locked in. Like a lot of times they played when I had a game, and after, first thing I would do is check the score, box score, and stuff. I was super proud of them because look, I mean, they had like big shoes to fill. And nobody knew where the scoring was going to come from, and we still struggled to score. But honestly, more important than anything, we got wins. And I don't know, what, 23-7, 22-7, like on paper, we weren't supposed to do that. And the fact that we did is like, that's why I tweeted, man, Anthony Guy Bennett, you sly dog. Like he just delivers. He just delivers.
How would you describe your relationship with him? I mean, obviously you love him, but what kind of love is it? Like, is it like, does he feel like another father to you? Is it like a brotherly thing? Like, I noticed you do call him Tony. Do you call him Tony? Do you call him Coach Bennett? Like, what kind of relationship?
I would never look him in the eyes and call him Tony. Never.
Okay.
Coach. Always Coach.
Okay.
But behind the keyboard, I call him Tony or Anthony.
Yeah.
But that's just more for shits and giggles. But he's easily the closest coach I've ever been to. We text all the time. Like I actually right before the season got canceled, I was texting him about like a new play. Like, hey, like I learned this new play. People were starting to go under on Kihei. Like I got the answer. And so we were just texting about that. He's a huge movie guy also. That's how he got me. Like the recruiting, you really want to be honest. Like he started talking movies. We stopped talking basketball. And I was like, all right, I'm sold. I'm in.
Yeah.
We never talked about Christopher Nolan, but I was still in.
There you go. All right. What else we got to cover, Tate? What is your Go ahead, Tate. You hit him.
I was gonna ask, what is Tony Bennett's favorite movie? That's like the real question. Is he like an old school like Renaissance man with these films? Is he like talking about Casablanca, or is he like a Will Smith guy? He's like, I love I Am Legend. Like, what is Tony Bennett's movie palette?
Man, he's definitely an old school kind of guy.
Yeah.
He still
like the
watches
movie Old
new,
School,
but he's just
or
like, I hope he is.
He loves Frank the Tank.
I know that. Yeah, I know for a fact that Fletch is a movie that we talk about and quote all the time.
Okay.
Because
Chevy Chase. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like my family's, like my grandparents like love that movie, and then him and his wife love that movie, and I like it too. So we talk about that a lot. He has a Rocky poster, so he's a huge Rocky fan also. I think he just likes that's why it's just so fitting. He just likes being the underdog, like that's why he went to Washington State, tried to, build that program, went to UVA, tried to build that program. So I think that's why he has that taste in movies.
So I went to Virginia when you guys won the title. I said on the podcast that if Virginia wins the national championship, I said this like a month before the tournament even started. If you win the national championship, I'm going to come to the celebration in Charlottesville. And then I'm a man of my word. I came down there. I was on campus for like 24 hours, and I feel like I got the full Virginia experience. Like we went to the Virginia and got on the tables. I went to what's the horrible place with the steps where everyone slips and falls on their ass at the bar, and you just like
Boylan.
Yeah. See, yeah. No, Trinity. It was Trinity. I went to Trinity. I was walking down the steps at like 1 a.m. I slip. I just basically fall all the way down the steps, just hit my ass and then everyone I was with was like, "Yep, that's your tradition. That's a Virginia tradition."
Yep. Yep.
There was we popped champagne bottles on the lawn, whatever those dorms are that are on the lawn. Someone invited us over there, and then they said one person was like, "You need to streak the lawn. That's like the big thing you do at Virginia." And I said, I tell you what, if Kyle Guy comes back next year, I will come back to Charlottesville for his senior night, and I will streak the lawn that night. I said, you have my word.
You're welcome.
I promise it'll happen. And then and then you declared for the draft, and I got out of that one. So my question to you is, how many of those things have you done? And if the answer is 0, when are we going to do it? We're not going to streak the lawn together, but like maybe you and I like find a way to like go have the Virginia experience together again. Like what is the most Virginia thing? What can you say to Virginia fans? Like, I have done that too. And they'll be like, oh, hell yeah, he's one of us.
Well, considering what I did at Virginia, like my occupation was school and basketball, so I never slipped on my ass purposely.
You never did? Yeah.
And I never did it on accident either. I was very careful when I was walking on those stairs.
Yeah.
Streaking the lawn, they say you got to do it before you graduate, so I did it, but I also did it more than once.
Whoa. Wow,
Yeah,
you did do it. Wow.
You should start that can be your headline right there.
Anything else, Tate? What else we got to cover with this man?
One last thing for the Kings. We have designated the Kings the blue blood NBA team. They got all the Duke kids, all the Kansas kids, all the Carolina kids, that are floating around there, from like Harry Barnes to Harry Giles to everybody. So being a UVA guy, do you feel like you're a part of the blue blood crew? Like, you're watching all the games. Do you feel like do you consider UVA a blue blood now since they won the title? Because they are Navy
100%.
blue. Okay,
100%.
there you go.
Now, I don't know if I really like being in the same ballpark as Duke, or North Carolina, or Kansas.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, sorry.
Yeah,
it's an honor. It's an honor.
Okay, North Carolina doesn't really. I don't really have a problem with them. Like, I used to love Psycho T. Like, I guess I don't really have any beef with them, but everyone just, when they hear, I don't know, when you hear Duke's name, you just get like upset you're even in the same sentence, even if it's like the best 2 schools ever are Duke and Virginia. Like, I'd be mad. And I don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's my life. It's Duke and Carolina. I'm like, say us first, C before D.
But I mean, hey, like, we're for sure a blue blood school. Like, that's why we're an elite school now. Like, it's. We're going to be good for a long time. As long as Tony's at the helm, we'll be good.
That's the headline, blue blood.
All right, real quick, and we will let you go, I promise. Give your quarantine board game power rankings. You said you play board games. You love board games. Yeah. We're all quarantined. Most of the people listening to this are bored out of their minds and need some form of entertainment. Right. What board games do you recommend to our listeners?
I mean, Monopoly's a classic. We've been playing that a lot. Have you guys ever heard of Catan?
Of course, yeah.
Oh my God,
yeah.
that's my favorite game of all time.
It's a great game.
Great
Grant
game.
Williams loves
and
that
I'm
game.
amazing. Really?
That's a Grant Williams game. He used to carry that around with Tennessee. He would. Him and Admiral Schofield, I think, would play it all the time. But Grant Williams was big into Catan. Yeah, his last.
I
year
used to play with all my basketball buddies. Didn't want to play with me, but I played with all my football buddies at UVA.
Mm-hmm.
We play Tunk. We play Boo-Ray. Those are card games. Euchre, big Euchre guy, Midwest, obviously. But there's literally probably not a card game or board game that I haven't played.
All right.
Like, I'm not even joking. Like, spades to euchre to sequence to catchphrase to, like, we've done it all.
All right. Well, very good. Kyle, we appreciate you coming on. We got to have you on more often. Now, listen, the last guy, the last G League star that we became best friends with and was a friend of the program that regularly came on here was a man named Duncan Robinson, who is now starting in the league, lighting it up. He also famously, though, I will say, the last time he was on here, he famously said, "I'm not worried about coronavirus" on this very podcast. So
I will not make the same mistake.
Yeah. But up until that point, there's value in getting the Titus and Tate bump. So we're gonna do our best to
for sure,
make this happen for you.
I would love to be in the 3-point contest next year.
Yeah, we'll do everything we can to make that happen. Kyle, thank you so much. Stay safe out there. Stay safe out there. Good luck controlling the remote control with your wife and watching more Game of Thrones and less Love is Blind. That's the battle every married man must fight. Good luck to you, buddy. Yeah. We'll be in touch. Text me the story later. We got to have the story, and then I'll just probably share it on the podcast. I'm kidding. I won't do that.
Absolutely.
All right. See you, man.
Thanks.
I appreciate it.
All right. Let's wrap this thing up. We've been talking too much. Who do we have to shout out before we go?
Yeah, shout-outs and closeouts. Before we or our last episode at the end, you pointed out a guy, Seth Towns, I believe is his name. He's from Harvard, and he was basically from Columbus, Ohio, but also in the Duke ether, and there was a lot of conversation as to what was going to happen with this guy. He goes back to Columbus, commits to Columbus, but before that happened, we got news in the world of Duke defectors, and for anyone that doesn't understand that, Duke, they bring in a lot of guys that are 5 stars. They don't play a lot of them. And then, those guys end up transferring. If you want to go all the way back to like a Chase Jeter guy or, the list goes on and on.
I mean, 5 years ago or whatever it is. All the way back.
Elliot Williams or any of these people, you know what I mean? Just the list goes on and on. And if you Alex Murphy, right? Like we can just keep pointing out these guys that Coach K lets go by the wayside. And anyways, as you go through the gambit, Alex O'Connell, son of Dave O'Connell, who is a Duke guy, they're Duke through and through. Alex O'Connell comes out before Seth Towns announced, and he goes, "I'm leaving Duke. Here's my message. I'm going somewhere else to play basketball. Thank you to the brotherhood, yada, yada, yada." I texted you immediately and said, boom, we got him out of there. Towns is definitely going to go to Duke. He ends up going to Columbus, Ohio anyway. But it still points to the fact that Duke has someone that they're bringing in. We don't know yet, but Alex O'Connell is leaving, and that's your Duke defector update. So shout out to all the Duke defectors. Michael Jabinajay has another one. Rashid Suleiman. There's a lot of Duke defectors in the world.
Something is brewing in Durham. You're absolutely right. They're gonna figure out a way to get some high school sophomore is going to reclassify and move his entire family to Durham, and something's coming. Something's coming down the pike. Alex O'Connell, he's a Georgia guy. Tom Crean, head coach of your Georgia Bulldogs. Hey. I don't know. Seems like a match made in heaven to me. I almost said shout out, but what's the opposite of a shout out? A call out, I guess you could say. LMU, they hired Stan Johnson, Marquette assistant coach. On Friday, the LMU coaching search is over. Craig Penton's the athletic director at LMU. Tate is a friend of the program. He listens to the show, listens to the off-season shows. That's how I know he's a true friend of the program. He'll text me every so often and try to get me to make fun of, try to get me to go in on all of his enemies, basically. And he's like, whatever. So when the coaching vacancy opens at LMU, he reached out to me and he's like, hey, we should interview you. It would be good content. Like maybe you actually might impress me. Maybe we'll actually hire you. I don't know. And he gets on Twitter. He did the eye emojis and the, we had that back and forth. And then I was like, yeah, man, we should totally set that up. And then before we set it up, he goes and hires someone, Tate. What the hell? So I'm calling out Craig Fitton's. I was not given a fair shake. I wanted a chance to interview you. To get an interview. I did not get that chance. The blood is on your hands, sir. Whatever happens to you from here, I feel no pity. You brought this upon yourself.
Yeah, it's also one of those things where he like tweeted after the fact and was like, "Sorry, Mark, we're sorry, sorry," which is like rubbing salt in the wound. So we appreciate it. We wish that you would have gotten the job, but we need to figure out how to get on some sort of support staff. I want to be like the minister of conduct or whatever they need, because it's so close. I mean, we're right there. We're right here.
As I've said all along, I don't necessarily need the job. I just need an interview because I know as soon as I get the interview, it's a done deal. I'm getting the job. I know exactly what to say to these ADs. I know how to schmooze. It'll be apparent. The charisma is just off the charts. It's oozing out of every pore I have. Tate, you get me in front of these ADs, it's a wrap. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, just the bag dropping, just the forward facing talk about paying these kids. So, Coach, what's our budget like? I don't need to staff.
Coach, here's my plan. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to cheat my balls off, but my plan is I'm going to elevate this program in the 3 years I'm here before the FBI finds out about me. I'm going to elevate you to such a degree that when the hammer gets dropped, it doesn't matter because I put your program on the map. You're welcome. Now, where do I sign? Speaking of coaching jobs, Luke Yaklich, the most difficult name in college basketball for me to pronounce, is the new head coach at UIC, which stands for the University of Illinois Chicago, Tate, the Flames. He is, I believe they're the Flames, right? That's correct. That's got to be correct.
Yes.
It's got me tripping out. That's Liberty's mascot as well, right? The Liberty Flames.
Liberty Flames, yeah. Seth Curry's, yeah.
He is the new coach at UIC. That means the open jobs we have now are Air Force, Georgia Southern, IUPUI, Samford, Western Illinois, and Western Michigan. None of those appeal to me. Like I said, I said this on the last show. I feel like the coaching carousel is just not going to be great this year, and it's a bummer. I feel like we're not going to get a lot of content. You got your fingers crossed that this HBO thing blows up for Will Wade and Sean Miller, and we shall see there. But I don't know. I don't have
only Sean Miller.
It's going to be yeah.
Yeah, only a players program because that's what we want. We want a players program to officially become yet again a players program brought to you by Will Wade.
I saw that the NCAA is putting full games on YouTube again. They used to have like a ton of them on YouTube and they started taking them off. I don't know why, but they're putting a lot of them back on. Should we do a TNT Classic? Should we pick a game and do that? We'll figure it out between now and next show. We should figure out which game we want to do, and then we'll announce on next show which game we're doing, and then next week maybe we do that. How about that?
Yeah.
Does that work? I
love it. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, TNT Classics. Let's bring them back.
I think my vote, it might be 2010 Kansas State Xavier, because I was watching a little bit of that today, and Gus on the call. That game was like so great, and then Gus Johnson on the call, and it was 10 years ago. I don't know. But we'll talk it out. We'll figure it out. There are a lot of good options. There are a lot of I want to do one that like not everyone is – I want to do one that's great, but not like not like 92 Duke, Kentucky. Like that's kind of overdone, and everyone kind of already knows everything there is to know about that one. I want to do one like 2011 Duke, Arizona, or something. Like a great game.
Derek Williams, yeah.
Kyrie Irving, Derek Williams. What'd be a good one is 2014 Kentucky, Wichita State. That'd be awesome. We'll figure it out. We'll talk it over. All right, that's it. That's the show. We'll be back next week. Thank you guys for tuning in. It does mean a lot to us because I don't know, we're all stuck in the same boat together, and we have no idea what the hell is going on in this world, and we're just trying to do our best to get by. So thank you for coming along for the ride. We'll be back. See you guys.
For the best access, perspective, and personalities in all of sports, follow us at Fox Sports on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.